Hi, Holly. Hello, and
Hi.
welcome, everyone. I am Rachel, Community Manager here at Alloy Women's Health. We are a digital health platform bringing science-backed, evidence-based menopause hormonal solutions direct to your door. Today, I am incredibly pleased to welcome for the first time to our educational library series, trainer Holly Rilinger, who we love and hang on every word of about all things strength, but also self-compassion and health, both in mind and body. Holly is a Nike master trainer, author, and the founder of the Lifted Method, an in-person and virtual platform with the focus of empowering people at all levels to strength train. Holly is dedicated to delivering innovative, science-backed training methods in an environment that prioritizes growth, resilience, and a lifelong passion for fitness. Holly coaches in person in her East Hampton studio. She is out there in East Hampton today and on her virtual platform, which reaches people worldwide. She's also founder of the Lifted Blueprint, formerly, many of you know, called Menopause Boot Camp, a program designed specifically to help women in midlife get stronger, feel more energized, and gain confidence as they navigate this powerful phase of life. She is also the creator of Lifted's newest program for GLP-1 patients, GLP-1 Blueprint. And Holly, first of all, welcome. Thank you so much for being
Thank
here
you.
with us today. It's an absolute pleasure to speak with you. Last time we spoke, it was an Instagram live, and it was one of the first time I was doing a live and my phone kept falling forward. I was like so ill-equipped to deal, but you were so patient and good to me.
Aw,
Um, so Holly, let's get started talking about, actually, first, if you would, I want to hear about the GLP-1 Blueprint program. I had never seen and have not seen anything like this for people out there who are interested in strength training, fitness, and are using a GLP-1. I thought it was so smart to offer, and I just want to hear a little bit about it before we dive further in. Quickly, sorry, Holly, I just want to invite people to leave questions for Holly in the Q&A, and I will get to those shortly.
yeah. So, I guess when we first started hearing about Ozempic, um, I think a lot of trainers and people were like, oh, that's the Hollywood drug. It's a shortcut. There's a lot of shaming around it. And, as a trainer, we're always looking at people looking for shortcuts and just being like, it's going to take, you got to do the work. You got to do the work. And, um, Dr. Rosia Whalen, no, I think
Do.
she just happened to be talking to me one day, and she said something that really impacted me and the way I feel about GLP-1s forever. And and it makes sense because I've had this client. She said, if you're someone that dedicates an hour a day to your fitness, you're eating right, and nothing is happening,
Yeah.
you are a candidate for a GLP-1. And it just made me think, God, I have that client, and you as a client, you're always like, you're eating when you shouldn't
Yeah.
be,
Oh, yeah.
like, you're like,
Yeah.
you're not. And they're like, no, I swear I'm doing everything. And the frustration that must mount if that actually happens to be you. And I was like, wow, that actually makes a lot of sense. Like, and this is coming from a doctor. She understands, metabolic health. She understands hormone health. And I'm like, okay, I got it. And then the more I kind of dove into it and understood it, just looking at like how this can dramatically change people's quality of lives. And the biggest thing that we saw is, you're not just losing fat, you're losing muscle. And then as we learn right now the importance of muscle as a longevity tool, it's interesting because you're making your life better in the short term, but what's happening to the
Right.
length and the quality of your life. So boom, I'm like, you know what, these and also, in all fairness, somebody on a GLP-1 may not have had help, may or may not have ever lifted weights in their life. Or maybe their body
Right.
image is like, oh, I'm just afraid. I don't want to go to the gym. It's always intimidated me. I don't feel comfortable. In Blueprint, when we created it, it was for women in midlife because kind of the same thing. They didn't grow up lifting weights. Most women in their
Yeah.
50s, 60s, 70s, no role models, didn't do it in sports, if there was even girls' sports for you then.
Right. Right.
So same concept applies. We love working with the person who's a little bit intimidated, not very confident, don't know where to start, you don't feel really comfortable going into a gym, we got you, and we're going to teach you about healthy habits. We're going to teach you how to build muscle, how to lift weights, how to, eat nutritionally, how to recover. So that really was the impetus for creating Blueprint and then GLP-1 Blueprint.
That's fantastic. Thank you for that. Like I said, I haven't seen anything like it out there. And as somebody who is currently taking a GLP-1, first of all, I am that patient who, work out religiously, know to eat all the things, had been like trying to wrestle and corral my mind and body into some sort of submission that's really out of my hands right now, being
Yeah.
in midlife. And so GLP-1 has been a game changer for me. Before we get into GLP-1s and strength training specifically, I want to hear from you because this is your lane so perfectly, about strength training being so beneficial to women in perimenopause and menopause. And again, I'm thinking about, as the people you just said, who maybe like really haven't stepped into a gym, haven't followed a program. We think that everyone in midlife is working out right now and lifting all the things, but that's not so. So speak to us
No.
about what's important here after 35, 40.
Yeah, and it's an interesting thing. I think when we embody something, we have this idea that everybody already knows about it. Like
Yeah.
sometimes I'm like, do I see this again on Instagram? Because everybody knows about it, and they
Yes.
don't.
Yes.
And there's a reason that 200 million women have osteoporosis.
Hmm.
Up until now, lifting weights, there's been a lot of just uh, chatter with women about bulking up or getting injured. And to be fair, like growing up, when I went to the weight room, I wanted to play professional basketball. So there was a reason I was there at 13. And I'm so grateful now because I got in there to reach a higher goal. And so I was squatting with a barbell on my back when I was 13 years old. I was really learning how to do it. And there were only men in there. I was the only girl in there.
Hmm.
So now we kind of have to catch up and we have to help women in the middle of their life learn how to lift weights, not even get better at it, but just learn the foundation. Um, and, the reason it's so important is because after age 40, we're going to lose about 8% of the muscle mass that we have per decade. And since we're going to live, hopefully, to be 80 or 90, you're going to lose a lot of muscle. Like, and muscle is going to be your key to independence, your key to actually enjoy the money that you made throughout your life, to not be in a nursing home, to be able to get up and down out of a chair. We've all had a grandparent, that can't get up, can't function.
Yeah.
So if we're not actively building muscle, we're actively losing muscle. So when you look at it that way, and thank God, do you want to know the number of women who come into my gym now and say, I don't want to get bulky is almost none.
That's amazing.
And
That's a
5 years
big deal.
ago,
I know. I know.
I was a broken record. I was
Yeah.
like, okay, let me tell you about bulking up,
Yeah.
like,
I know it.
and I don't have to say it that much anymore, which is really nice.
That's amazing. Tell us, Holly, a few sort of, well, you just named, I think, probably the primary one, but maybe a few kind of common myths about strength training in midlife. Obviously, we're not going to bulk up, right? We need the
Yeah.
muscle as much as we can for as long as we can. Is there another that you just find, I need to dispel this right now?
There's a few. Number one, I have an injury. I have frozen shoulder. I can't really lift. That's throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Like there's so much you can do around every single injury. You might have a toe that won't flex. That's fine. We'll squat, we'll deadlift, we won't lunge. I have a shoulder injury. You have another arm, we won't go overhead.
Hmm.
So if you have an injury, don't let that be the reason that you don't lift weights. We'll find a way around it. Even a back injury, like by the way, everybody has a herniated disc that's walking
Right.
this planet.
Oh,
So
God. That's so depressing.
if you don't, you just don't know about it.
That's such a
So
bummer.
like people walk into my gym and actually in East Hampton, and I love it. Our demographic is older. We have 70-year-old women. We have an 80-year-old woman who comes in there. And the first thing people come in and they say, I have this injury. I'm like, welcome to the club. Every
Yeah.
single person in here is working around an injury. So you're not going to feel like you're an outcast or
Yeah.
you're an outlier. So
Yeah.
And then the other thing is like, I don't want to get hurt. That's like saying I don't want to cross the street because I might get hit by a car,
Mm.
or maybe that's a little too dramatic, but you're going to risk far more by not lifting than potentially saving yourself from getting hurt by lifting. But that's also why it's really smart to join a program like Blueprint that's specifically designed to help you slowly and
Right.
safely begin to lift weights, understand why you're lifting weights, understand when you should go up in weight, what it should feel like, what is full range of motion like. So understanding all of those things are really important, because the people that usually get hurt it's because they're doing something that they don't know how to do, or they're using bad form. So just
You
educate
know,
yourself.
lastly, Holly, on this, you're making me think about when we had opportunity to work out together, and then we went to your home and we had lunch, and I did this impromptu interview of you, and I was at that time like a real bar girl, like
Yeah.
the little pink weights. I was all about it. I was trying to lift heavy, but I was, I'm gonna bulk. My muscles are really big already. I don't need all that. So I said, why not that? And I want to preface it by saying, um, I feel like, and you correct me if I'm wrong, however you might choose to move, or to whatever sort of capacity you're able to lift a weight, is a great place to start. But there's a reason why challenging weight is so important. Can you speak to that?
Yes, I can. And this is a big problem in the industry right now. There's some big, I guess, fitness powerhouses that have been around for a while and have been promoting long, lean lines. First thing I want to say is your muscle from here to here is only ever going to be that long.
Only
You're
that
not
long.
you're
Yeah.
not elongating that. Like that's just not going to happen. Um, and when you feel a burn from taking 2 pound weights and going like this, it's just lactic acid. You're gonna burn. You're gonna feel a burn. You're gonna feel like you worked, but it's not impactful enough. You're not damaging the muscle fiber enough for it to actually be damaged and then have to repair itself. So when you think about lifting weights, are you moving? Yes. Like, good job. I'm not gonna say anybody you're not moving, but it's kind of like, if you want to go dig a ditch in your backyard, do you want to take a spoon out there, or do
Mm.
you want to take a shovel? And none of us have endless amounts of time. So if you really want to prioritize your health, you really want to prioritize longevity, then you should be prioritizing 3 to 4 days of heavy strength training. And keep in mind, if you're a beginner, heavy is different to everybody. I just did a post about this the other day. If you're just getting started, you're going to be doing sets of 15, a 10-pound chest press. If it feels heavy to you, that is your heavy right now. I might be
Mm.
doing 40s, but I've been doing this for 40 years.
Right.
So you want to understand, and I'm kind of going in a little bit longer, sorry, but
Okay.
heavy is within a rep range that I prescribe to you. Let's say 15 reps. 13, 14, 15 should feel really challenging without breaking form or without compromising range of motion.
Okay.
That's heavy,
That's heavy. I'm totally projecting, and I'm like, okay, I got it. I'm doing that. All right, perfect.
right?
Thank you. Yes, thank you for that. Okay, let's move on to your GLP-1 client strength training. So I'm gonna just ask something off the bat, because candidly, I'm projecting, but I'm not the only person who I've heard this from. I noticed when I began, and it's been about 10 weeks now, that I felt a bit of a loss of strength or power in the gym. And it may have been because I wasn't eating as much, and I didn't have as much reserves. But I'm wondering about that, and if you hear about that from others and what you say to that.
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, yes, it'll be energy. Food is energy. Fueling your body is important. And if you're not getting as much food, you're not going to have as much energy. Nausea can be part of it
Yeah,
too, like just not feeling right. Your digestive tract, it's slowing down. Like, so there's a lot of things happening to you physically, especially at the beginning, that you're going to have to adjust to. Like anything. I
sure.
mean, you could feel the same way because you ate a big meal before
Yep.
you worked
So
out,
true.
and you're
That's a
just
good
like,
point.
oh, I don't
Yeah.
feel like I have the right energy. So I would just be really cognizant of the transition to take yourself to be able to get to where you feel a little bit more normal, or like yourself rather. And again, I'm not a doctor, and I just know, learning from the doctors I've worked with, electrolytes, being able to hydrate your body, because you also lose a bit of your thirst.
Yes.
Being hydrated is going to make you feel way less powerful, way less energetic. So really being mindful of getting your electrolytes in and getting enough water
Yeah, thank you for
into
that.
your system.
You reminded me just of something that we say at Alloy, and Dr. Michelle Montville, who's our clinical director and sort of built out our GLP-1 program, talks about going low and slow. Like, like don't crank up your dose until you're ready for it to go up. And I would imagine with regards to strength training, the principle really applies that you don't want to like push yourself into a place you're not ready to be. You definitely won't have an easy time of it in the gym. Have you heard this as well?
I mean, that would apply to even somebody
Yeah,
not on a GLP-1, you know what I mean? But
true.
again, if you know you're starting a medication and you know you're not quite feeling right, I would maintain what you're doing and not
Okay.
take any big leaps.
Okay.
Um, you're probably not going to feel like it anyway, but just kind of, it all comes down to mindfulness. I think a lot of people get hurt when they're not being mindful about what they're doing. Their brain drifts off, or they're going too fast. And mindfulness goes a long way. Like being in your body when you're lifting weights, noticing how you're feeling. You're getting a little nauseous. All right, let me take a 2-minute breather and like go over here, shake it off, grab a sip of water, not be in a rush to like check working out off my list today. Like actually being there for it. And I think this goes for everybody. Like in life, sometimes, are you just showing up to check off the workout off your list? Or are you like actually feeling what you're doing, being in each rep,
Hmm.
noticing which muscles are working? Because when you're doing that, you're going to be far more effective in your workouts.
Super helpful. Thank you. Okay. You brought up appetite. GLP-1 medications we know suppress appetite. How do you help your clients feel like they are fueling enough? What is something you let them know? It's particularly around like pre-training, post-training meals.
Yeah, so I mean, and again, I'm always going to reference this back so GLP-1 users don't feel like they're this super outlier. A lot
Please.
of these things really apply to everybody, but you're going to be a little bit more sensitive to it as a GLP-1 user. No matter who you are, if you're going to go do an intense workout, I have people who can eat 30 minutes before. I have people that are going to be so nauseous if they do that, and they need an hour before. If you're on a GLP-1, your digestive tract is slowing down. I would really be cognizant of when your meal is so that you're not nauseous. You don't have, you're not really dealing with that. So being able to, number one, have fiber in your diet, because that's
Hmm.
really going to help you digest and flush. The electrolytes that I mentioned, and making sure that you have some space before so you don't feel nauseous. Like I think an hour is a good amount of time to think about, okay, let me eat an hour before I work out, allow my body to digest, and then go into the workout. Or having something that's a little bit more fast digesting, like a banana, some electrolytes, something like that. And then, afterwards, just as important, nobody feels like eating. Well, sometimes I do right after a workout. Sometimes I'm
Right.
just ravenous. But a
Ravenous.
lot of times, if you have a really tough workout, you're just like, oh, God, like all I can handle right now is a protein shake. But no matter what, no matter who you are, and on GLP-1, you're not going to have the same appetite. Prioritize protein because we want to build and maintain muscle. A lot of times when we don't have an appetite, like the more appealing things are carbs and comfort
Yes.
food, and it's just the way it is. But if you can try to find those little windows, and for me, a lot of times it is a protein shake because I might not feel like having a veggie burger or 3 eggs or something like that. But if you can get 30 grams of protein in after a workout, you're good. You've done a great job.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for that. You mentioned already, if you're feeling like fatiguey or sort of dizzy, and again, I'm so glad you pointed out this applies to everyone, whether you're a GLP-1 user or not. You're going to encourage that person to just take a minute. the reason I guess I want to get into this just a tiny bit more is because I think also we tend to like, let me plow through, let me push through this workout. And what does that look like for women, whether they're, forget about a GLP-1 or not, but just, perimenopausal, menopausal, feeling particularly tired, not feeling particularly themselves. How do you work with people like that?
Yeah, it's interesting. In my class today, I taught a strength class. It was legs and abs. And in that class, we do 4 sets of 8 and we take 30 to 45 seconds between sets. And I think in my mind, a lot of people's minds, when they think workout class, they're like, never stop, go, go, go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like, I'm just like, you have to retrain your brain for what it's like to actually strength train. Resting is your friend. You want the glucose to come back in their muscles.
Okay,
You want to,
this is big. Tell us
yeah,
more. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. That's really,
yeah.
go ahead.
Because and it's true. And like, I've had people come to my strength lab before, who've never really done that kind of lifting. And we might be doing a back squat, like a set of 6, and then we rest for 2 minutes. And that's the right amount of rest you need for that kind of strength. And this one girl was like, it's a lot of standing around. And I'm like, well, that's actually because you don't understand the physiology of what we're doing. Like, it to her, she was like, I paid this money for a class. I should be getting my money's worth by like cramming as much in as possible. And I understand that mentality because a lot of fitness classes have been like hit AMRAPs, EMOMs, like you like do so much that you feel like you're going to throw up.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm not saying that like sprint training and interval training doesn't have its place, but for women in midlife, if you're trying to build muscle, that's not actually the best strategy. The best strategy is 4 sets of 8 or 5 sets of 5 or 3 sets of 15 with actual rest in between sets. So let's just say you're doing a workout. We have a program called Blueprint Beyond. So if you go through GLP-1 Blueprint, you can then go to Blueprint 2, which is slightly more advanced learnings. Then you go to a 6-month program where we program out workouts for you. And there's a lot of rest there, and we tell you like, all right, now you're going to rest. And the thing is, if you're on a GLP-1 and you're feeling a little nauseous, just take an extra minute.
Right.
You're not ruining your workout by resting. You're
Okay.
taking strategic rest. I'm not saying like go get on your phone for 5 minutes and then come
Right.
back and like, but strategically, you're like, you need that extra minute, so take it.
Okay. And I'm so sorry I interrupted you. You were saying something about you need that glucose. What does that mean?
So basically, in the muscle, you burn fuel like within a rep range, and then it takes a little bit of time for that glucose to return to the muscle. So you actually want to rest. So that's why you're actually. So think about this, like, why do I do 3 sets of 15, or why do I do 4 sets of 8,
I have
or why
no
do I
idea.
do 5 sets of 5?
Yes.
And why is the rest different if I did a set of 5 between a set of 15? So the amount of energy that you have to expend, let's say if I'm doing 5 sets of 5, and usually only a more advanced weightlifter would do that because a beginner doesn't have the neuro skills to actually go up in weight. It's like, so for a beginner, I would just have you doing sets of 15 just to learn the movement patterns. Like, you
Okay.
get somebody on a bench press and they're brand new, their arms are going like this,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
and then by the third set, they're like this, and your body's just learning a movement pattern. Then you start to add weight, and they're like, okay, I got it, I got it, I got it. And then they build strength. And then, like, I usually have a beginner on like a 2-month plan of like higher reps, like 12 to 15 reps. By then, you've built enough strength, you've built enough, neuroplasticity. Your neurons are firing, they understand it. Then you can start to move to, let's say, 4 sets of 8. When you do a set of 8 that is that heavy, you shouldn't be able to do 16 reps. Otherwise, the weight's not heavy enough. So if
Okay.
you do that set of 8, you need enough rest for your muscle to recover that you can go back in again in a minute, because that's how much time it takes usually for the muscle to repair itself, um, or the energy supply. Then you can go back and do another set of 8. But just, you could
Okay.
test it for yourself. All right, take a set of 25-pound dumbbells or 15, whatever it is. Do a set of 8, rest, do a set of 8, rest, do a set of 8, or try to do just right in a row. What's 4 times
Right.
8? 28. Just try to do 32. Just try to do them in a row.
Right.
You're gonna you can't.
You'll want to die. Yeah, of course. All right.
So
All right.
then you understand, okay, my muscle is actually recovering so that I can do that same weight again.
Amazing. Thank you for that explanation.
You're welcome.
Incredibly helpful. Okay, this comes up a lot, particularly for those on a GLP-1. You talked about muscle loss. We hear about it a lot. I spoke with Dr. Soa, who you have collaboration with, and she actually talked about, yes, you will lose some muscle because you're losing weight, and so you will lose some muscle, but you don't have to be right. And that's why strength training is key, and you should be doing it anyway. But can you build muscle uh while on a calorie, I guess, deficit? Or is the focus really to be on preservation of the muscle you have?
I think it's both. I mean, absolutely, you can build muscle on a caloric deficit. Like you see people who are building muscle. I'll give you an example. One of my trainers, his name is Andrew. He recently did an Instagram post on how he gets 150 grams of protein a day under 1,800 calories. So he's on a restrictive diet, so to speak. Like he's
Right.
maintaining, he's restricting his calories to this amount. It's not just like protein at all costs, like
Mhm.
burgers and steaks and how did he strategically do that? And he's building muscle. So
Mhm.
you've got to look at your macros and be like,
Okay.
what are these 1,800 calories? What do they consist of? If it consists of bread and no protein at all, you're going to
Mhm.
have a hard time building muscle. So yes, caloric deficit, sure. But what is included in the calories that you're eating? If it's not protein, you're going to have a hard time building muscle on top. So yes, there you absolutely could lose weight, be in a caloric deficit, maintain a certain amount of protein daily, and continue to build muscle.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you for that. Can you talk a little bit, Holly, about kind of like training smarter on a GLP-1? And this might be too broad a question. You work with people specifically, and sort of you're able to have conversations with them and help them meet their goals. So this might be too broad strokes, but you want to train smart around these shifts. I've certainly noticed myself having to dial in more as well. I want to look into your program, but so that you are retaining muscle slash building muscle while you're losing weight, while you may not be feeling 100% every day. What would say be the three major things to think about, whether like on your plate or in the gym? What are the moves you want to be doing? You said protein first. What else?
Yeah. Well, one we haven't talked about, which I think is really the unsung hero of fitness, sleep. Um,
Mm,
if you're not feeling great, if you are losing weight, you don't have a lot of energy, you have to prioritize something that you do have in your control, and that's getting sleep. That is going to change so much for you.
yeah.
So I would say definitely get, that 8 hour a night kind of sleep, prioritize it because you need it and it's something you can control. Number two, really, I mean, we've talked about it already, but if you look at the different kind of workouts you can do, prioritizing strength training, understanding what heavy means, and
Mm,
really not being afraid to go there. And then the third thing I would say is, let's not forget about cardio. The
yeah.
power of
Like
zone two cardio. I know we hear it a lot, so I just want to make sure everybody knows what it is. It's a fat burning zone. Um, you're not working. So basically, your body is using fat as an energy source versus your muscles as an energy source. So everybody can write this down. You take 220 minus your age, and then you get
okay.
that number, and you take that times 0.65 and you take it by 0.75, and that's going to give you a heart rate zone where your
Okay.
body can ideally burn fat. It's also called conversational cardio. So being out on a brisk walk with your friends where you're talking but you're a little winded but you can
Hmm.
talk,
Hmm.
or maybe a light jog where you can talk. I mean, I used to think of walking as, I didn't even count that as working out,
Right. Right.
but now that I have four chihuahuas and
Yeah.
I walk them on a daily basis, I try to walk briskly and I get it in. And like, if you think about 150 minutes a week is ideal amount to get. That's, 30 minutes a day just on a walk. I mean, clock that in. You want to grab those low hanging fruits, the things that you don't have to feel your best
For
for, the
sure.
things you don't have to, have experience with. And those two, the sleep and the cardio, are two ways to really get it in.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for that. Um, have you yet had occasion, I'm assuming you have, to work with people who've come off of a GLP-1? And how was that? Did things shift again? What was that like?
Yeah, it's interesting because I know that there's a lot of research saying that people have to be on a GLP-1 forever. And again, I just want to back this up by saying I'm not a doctor. I haven't read the research. I'm just speaking from my own experience. One thing that you can focus on when you are on a GLP-1 is creating very healthy habits.
Yeah,
And if you are getting your sleep and you are getting in the habit of eating protein and you are getting in the habit of really lifting weights, I have 3 clients who actually did come off a GLP-1 and they are maintaining right now. So
awesome.
again, I've seen it happen. I definitely think that, you have to make this part of, you have to be indoctrinated into, this is my life. I
Yeah,
brush my teeth, I lift
yeah,
my weights, I
yeah.
eat my protein, I walk my dog. Like, you have to be like, this is who I am.
Hmm, hmm.
So again, doctors may say something different, and I also think, everybody's a little bit different. They may have a completely different metabolic system that's just,
Right.
not functioning in that way. So it might be a case of everybody's a little different, but at the very least, I wish they would prescribe a GLP-1 only if you agreed to sign up with the strength training program,
Right.
because
Yes, I hear
be,
that.
because the amount of people that would, first of all, save their longevity through this,
Mm.
but also just, you know create a life of healthy habits. And I'm thankful that this is at the forefront of what women are talking about right now, because it's so important.
I love that. And it actually, I think about this a lot, of course, because this is like professionally, but also personally where I live. But I think about sort of the conversation around GLP-1s being so parallel to the conversation around MHT, sort of where it was, where it will get to, where it is now. But to that, thinking about kind of perimenopause as this opportunity, this time to really dial in on your habits and make sure that all the things you said, brushing your teeth, getting outside, taking a walk, moving your body, lifting weights, eating a lot of plants, getting a lot of protein, all of that becomes so embedded in who you are that you're just going. And whether you continue the support of MHT, GLP-1 for the rest of your life as you can, or you decide I'm going to pop off for a little bit, those habits that always matter, no matter what, are fluid for you.
Yeah, and I'm really glad you're talking about perimenopause and before, because there's so many women that are coming to me now because they're terrified because they have osteoporosis. And absolutely, I've seen people go from osteoporosis, reverted back to osteopenia. You absolutely can do it. But what if we now, really start to teach the next generation that we don't have to have 200 million women who have osteoporosis?
Absolutely
And
not.
and I'm seeing stuff right now that makes me so happy. Like, I was in the airport the other day, and there were these 2 girls with really short shorts and big legs like mine, and I was like, "You
Yeah.
go, girl!"
I love
Because I
that.
spent 30
I love
years
that.
hiding my legs
Oh
because
my God.
I wanted to
Tell
have
me
little
about it.
thin legs, and I'm like,
Hmm.
this is nice. And I have girls in, just the other day, I had 4 girls in my front row lifting weights, like grabbing the heavy ones, kind of struggling through, not grabbing the 2 pounds. And I'm like,
Hmm.
yes, because
Awesome.
that's what's going to change the trajectory of women's health, the way we look at strength in women, actually being proud of being strong versus feeling like, oh, I'm not feminine anymore. Like,
Right.
there really needs to be a paradigm shift in allowing women to feel strong and sexy.
Well, we are with you, Holly. We absolutely are aligned. To that, there's the physical part of you, and there's the mindset, the emotional. You touched on this a little bit. something that I think you are just, innately just gifted at is being compassionate, showing compassion for another, empathy. Um, I feel like you're particularly good at helping us gain more of that for ourselves. Um, what is it? What is it you want us to hear to that end about our our this season of life, how we're aging, how we can continue to work on our strength and wellness and fitness?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I'm a former professional athlete, and when I stopped playing basketball, in my late 20s, a lot of people were like, why don't you go coach pro athletes?
Right.
And it's interesting. I never really had that desire. I'm 5'4". I think I have an affinity for underdogs. I
Mhm.
love working with the underdogs, and what I love about working with women in midlife is that they're just hungry for information. There's not a lot of ego involved. They're just like, I don't know, they're just a special group of people, and I just love that. I just love honest, good. I'm a Midwestern farm girl, okay? Like I'm kind of like that's my cloth. Like
Yeah.
so I like to find other people like that, but I also just, being in the fitness industry, there in my early 30s, I always was looking ahead being like, when am I going to become irrelevant? Like when am I going to be too old to be important in this industry? And I was always like, oh God, I better do everything now. And like, I'm going to be 50 and then nobody's going to want to look at me anymore. And the 20-year-olds are going to be all hot. And I really had this intense fear of like, when's it going to be over? When should I not wear shorts anymore? When should I not show my midriff? And
Mhm.
fuck that. Sorry, I don't know if
Yeah.
we can say that
Yeah.
here, but
No, no,
like,
no. You can.
but like, I'm wiser than I've ever been. I'm more comfortable in my skin than I've ever been. I feel more capable in my business than I've ever felt.
Mhm.
And it's just such a powerful time in our lives. So I really hope we're seeing a reframing of who we are as women. We're not just baby making machines that are like irrelevant after menopause. And unfortunately, we've kind of been pushed into that box. And instead, we're looking at this incredible new life ahead of us that includes embracing our bodies.
Yes, yes, and all the strength embodied in them. I love that.
Yeah,
Thank you. I want to sort of get like a snapshot of what this is so maybe hard for you, but just bear with me for a second. Is for somebody who has started a GLP-1, let's say they're a month in, maybe they've lost weight, maybe they haven't, but they're starting to feel different and
yeah,
they're ready to take on something in the gym. Now, of course, I want everyone to go and look at your program without question, but divorced of that for a moment, what is it, women in midlife, perimenopausal, menopausal, GLP or not, what should we be doing?
yeah. Um, I would say I'm going to go a couple routes here.
Okay.
Number one, if you've never lifted weights before and you don't know exactly what you're doing, book a session with a trainer, even if it's just one session, show you some
Okay.
basic moves. How to squat, how to deadlift, how to do a chest press, how to do a one arm row, how to do a seated overhead press, how to do some basics. Another kind of easy way, and maybe like inexpensive way, I also just want to be mindful that not everybody may have a budget
Sure.
to go pay $100 for a personal trainer. But if
Mhm.
you can, even like I've had people come to me and say, listen, I don't want to do a lot of sessions. I just want you to show me the basics. Great, let's do it. There's also, you could get a Planet Fitness membership, something that's super cheap. Go in and look at the machines. Machines require a lot less form, and you can go there and sit down, look at the little picture. It's probably going to be like a picture of a guy going like a girl going like
Right.
this and
Right.
this,
Yeah. Yeah.
go in and you should be working your full body. And if there's machines in there, you could see, okay, here's a leg press, here's a lat pull down for my lats, here's a chest press, here's a bicep curl, here's a tricep pull down. um, you could start with machines that are kind of foolproof. You're going to be, it's just a push or a pull. But also, I just want to say, I feel like women, there's a huge intimidation factor,
Yeah.
less and less. But you're in there and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
who's looking at me? Look at the machine to read. That's so embarrassing, you
Yeah.
know. The number of times I go in and see men with ridiculous form, like
Yeah.
they don't know what they're doing either. Okay,
Yeah.
so
That's
just
so
get
true.
over it. Put a
Yeah.
great playlist in your ears.
Mhm.
Just don't let anybody bother you, and just go do your thing and look at the reading, read the machines, and just have your day. So,
I love that. I love that's so encouraging. And I will also say, be having been that person that often there's someone just really decent in there who's like, you're right, do you need a minute? Do you need help? Like, and that's if you don't want it, thanks, I'm good. But sometimes it's helpful. Usually
yeah,
we're all right in there.
yeah, yeah. But a more general answer to that would be baseline. Just getting started. I would start with 3 full body workouts a week. Three
Perfect.
full body workouts a week. So that would include leg exercises, chest, back, bicep, tricep, shoulder, core. And that would just be a good way to get you started. I would also just, if you don't want to join like the Blueprint program, or you don't want to hire, there's a lot of information online. Like,
Mhm.
I mean, my God, ask AI to write you a three
That's
a
so true.
4 week beginner strength training program using dumbbells 3 days a week. With sets of 15 reps. Throw it in there. There's a lot of ways to do it these days.
Holly, a question just came in. I wanna ask this. Strength training seems to always involve lifting weights. My exercise incorporates swimming, hot yoga, hiking, skiing, and biking. I've been doing this all my life. Do I have to do weights too? Right now, it would be hard to squeeze this in. When I'm working less, it will be easier. I really appreciate this question because a lot of people feel this way too. And I think I kind of like was thinking that when I asked you earlier, like, what if, this is your thing? Like you just really like this and talk to this person, talk to all of us.
Yeah, I mean, listen, all of that is great. And you're active, your heart's healthy, you're getting a lot of like functional training out there. I have also seen these same women have osteoporosis.
Mm,
So if I were you, I would still incorporate, it doesn't have to be crazy, but I would incorporate some strength training in there. Um, like swimming is not going to create that. It's going to create resistance, but it's not going to be the kind of resistance that actually tears down muscle fiber. Same with mountain biking, same with all of that. I get it. That's all fun. You should keep doing it. But if you're really serious about bone and muscle health, I would find time to get in 3 times a week of strength training. I know that's not the answer you want to hear, but the number of people that have been like, I'm so shocked. I'm so active. How do I have
mm,
osteopenia?
mm.
And that's the reason. Like hot yoga, it's not going to do it. It's not going to
Okay.
tear down that muscle fiber. It's great. I need more hot yoga in my life. I lift, that's all I do is lift, and
Yeah,
walk,
yeah, yeah.
but it, unfortunately, that is going to be the best way to make sure that you're building bone and building muscle.
Thank you for that. I would be remiss also, and I'm not assuming anything about this person's question, but I would be remiss if I didn't also say that, the benefits of MHT, particularly as it relates to bone health, it's evidence, it's out there, the science backs it up. So have a conversation with a menopause specialist about that if you haven't yet. Okay. Do you, Holly, sort of, I want to ask you this question and then I want to ask you as a trainer. Have you kind of shifted your midlife fitness goals approach? Has it changed how you work out and how you work with others in midlife?
I mean, the only thing that I used to go overboard, honestly. You don't need the amount of exercise that is just like that I used to do. Like I think having that sweat, having like like I used to teach at Flywheel. I would do 12 spin classes a week. I'd walk out, you could drench my clothes out. You could wring them out, and I was just like, yeah, that was what I
Yeah.
needed,
Yeah.
and then I'd go lift weights. I'd lift really heavy. I would back squat 140 pounds and I'd have like a little dripping of sweat
Right.
right here. And I would be like, I
Mhm.
feel like I just destroyed myself.
Mhm.
You don't need to destroy yourself. There's a way smarter way to work. Days off.
Mm.
Magical. That's when all the magic happens. If you're lifting 3, 4 days a week, the reason lifting works is because you're tearing down the muscle fiber and then you're giving it the food to repair. If you're constantly tearing down, there are people that are like, I'm going to work out 2 times a day. And I'm like, no, you don't have to do that. You're actually
Okay.
going in the wrong direction there. So I would be really strategic about what you're doing, making sure you have a complete day off where you don't have to do anything. Go for a walk if you want to, but it's not like got to get it in. Like there's
Okay.
just something that's so refreshing about having nothing to do. So really, I think the way my training has gone, and nutritionally too,
Yeah.
like I have Lucky Charms in my cabinet downstairs.
What?
I love them.
Kidding.
Okay, I
Yes.
know that people are like, really, that's your
Yeah.
thing. It
You
is.
gotta have it. Enjoy it.
And you know what? It's not going to crush me to have a bowl of Lucky Charms once in a while. So
Yeah.
I think if anything, I just have a more relaxed approach to it. But it's strategically relaxed. I'm not like, yeah, I won't work out for 5 days. I know what I need to get in. I know that I'm going to get it in. I know when I'm not getting it in, and I'll rein it in. But I'm also just not going to beat myself up like I used to if I, eat 3 slices of pizza one night, or
Yep.
there's just a checks and a balances that happen. Maybe it's age, maybe it's wisdom, maybe it's education, but like I just don't get worked up about those things the way I used to.
Awesome. Thank you. Holly, this is something I observe of you. I don't know if you've ever been asked something like this before, but I think it's important to those of us out here. But community weighs big to you. It looks like when I'm looking at you and your life, your feed, the things you share, community is a big thing. And I'm wondering kind of your thoughts on how that plays a role in fitness success, fitness motivation, and so on.
Yeah, I mean, coming from a massive introvert who would like to stay home every single day and just be with my dogs, like I don't like I'm not naturally drawn to community, but I also grew up playing team sports where I understood the power of a team and having a bad day and somebody picking you up or inspiring somebody to do better. So there's a lot of power in having a community that you can share your struggles with. Someone's there to cheer on your victories for you. And it's really a key component to happiness in life. It's been studied, community is a big part of being happy, community and gratitude. So, um, of course, if you have the ability to work out on your own, that's great. But being able to join a community and having support and being able to share is huge. And we really push that at Lifted, both virtually. We have big community virtually. You're part of a chat thread, and it's super active, and people are sharing pictures of their dogs and their cats and their travel and even the people that are like, I never thought I'd be this person,
Yeah.
But for me, every single time I don't want to teach or I don't want to go be around people and I do, I'm just like, that was great. I really felt good. So, pushing yourself to be part of a community, like-minded too, people that can be like, oh man, I don't want to work out tomorrow. I know, but you're going to. We're going to do it together. It's important.
Yes, thank you for that. Somebody writes to you, thanks for saying you have Lucky Charms. That was really funny. I am in your BPB program and I really like it. I love the chat. It helps motivate me. Thanks for having that. That's so nice, Kathy. Thank you for sharing that.
Hey, Kathy.
Oh, that's so awesome. Um, Holly, is there anything you sort of want, and particularly now speaking to those of us who are using a GLP-1 to know about threading that needle between using this medication, moving our bodies correctly, consistently, that I haven't touched on today?
Yeah, I think that, if you have been heavy or if you haven't been happy with your body for a really long time, it's really easy to think about being thin. I mean, as women in general, the lower the number on the scale, the
I
happier I
know.
was, you know? And it's
Mhm.
even with all the education I have right now, sometimes I'll go get my antibody done and I'll be like, ooh, 131. You
Mhm.
know, like it's just
Like it's some crazy win. I know. I
like
know.
I don't know. It's just
Yeah.
like it's programmed in us.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I really do feel like someone who's on a GLP, it's so great to see people come into their own. Maybe they're buying clothes they never were able to buy. Maybe they're like going to the beach for the first time and not feeling like intimidated or uncomfortable. Like it's such a new lease on life, which I just think is so exciting for so many people. I do want you to get to a place though where it's not about how far can that go down, but how can you enjoy your body? How can you enjoy it in ways you never were able to do before? Like maybe you feel yourself getting up and out of a chair easier, or you're
Mhm.
able to play tennis and you're moving better and you could never do that before. So try to let this journey be less about how much more can I get off, and instead like try to look at day by day and saying, wow, how much more am I enjoying life? How good
Hmm.
does it feel to be in these clothes? Because if we look at it through that lens, it's not just so focused on us becoming smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And I think as women, we have to stop trying to make ourselves small.
I also want to piggyback off that and say that for me personally, and I know others, so many women, myself included, with a pre-diabetic diagnosis that seemed like it came out of
Oh,
nowhere.
yeah.
And for me, the real win is that that is gone. Like that is
Mm,
huge. That feels like
seriously.
a longevity lease on life, like, oh, okay, the demon in the closet that was waiting to snatch me is no longer. And that's like incredibly exciting. Um, Holly, for those women, again, GLP-1 users, sure, but just any of us, over 40, just throwing that number out there, a message about fitness, strong over skinny. I hear that, like being able to move in ways you haven't, whatever it looks like, getting better sleep. What do we sort of consistently miss? And what do you really want us to hear?
I think a lot of us have looked at working out as almost a punishment for us, what we have to do because we're a certain way, because we eat bad, or because we have bad genetics, and we're
Yeah.
like, I have to go and I have to work out and I have to not be fat and I have to.
Yeah.
And I think if we could reframe that as like, I can't wait to see what I can do with my body today. Like, I
Mm.
can't wait to see how strong I feel. Or, wow, maybe I'm going to go up in weight on my bench press today. And I think tracking the
Mm.
weights that you use in Blueprint Beyond, it's a trackable program. So in phase one, you are tracking your weights from week to week to week to week to see how much stronger you're getting. It's a lot different. It's a big difference to say, I feel stronger, or wow, I am getting stronger. My squats have gone from this to this. So tracking what you're doing is really important, because you're gonna pick up those weights, and it
Okay.
happens with everybody in Blueprint. They're like, we'll do a live workout, and every single one I'm like, Kathy, you can go heavier. Judy, that looks too light. And they're like, oh my God, I picked up this 20, and it's like, it's not,
Interesting.
it's not, they feel good about everything at that point. It's not
Mhm.
just because they did a one arm row with a
Mhm.
25. They go into their day and
Oh my
it
God,
just,
yeah. It changes your
you
day.
feel empowered, you feel strong, you feel way different, and that's the
Yeah.
power of really having a sense of curiosity of what my body can do.
Ooh, I love that. Ah, what a beautiful way to end. Thank you so much. Holly, I always love talking to you. You're spectacular.
I love talking to you too.
Thank you. Thank you for this time. I do want to encourage everyone to take advantage of today's code Rillinger20 over on myalloy.com. Look out for more of Holly here with us on Alloy. And also, please do take a look at her program, The Lifted Blueprint. Take a look at all of her programs. I have done them in the past. They're fantastic. And what else, Holly? Is that it? I think that's it.
Yeah.
I didn't want to let you go. I really just love hanging out with
Oh,
you.
let's just hang out, let's have
We'll just hang
coffee.
out. Thank you guys so much for joining today. And Holly, we'll talk to you soon.